How are you guys doing today? My name is Juan and I'm a co-founder of Soundspired. And today I'll be doing a quick tutorial on how to edit a podcast. Let's get right to it. The first step is color. I feel like it's very important to start with color. For me, I shoot an S-Log and I don't want to look at it the whole time gray. So I kind of just like to get it out the way and make sure everything looks good straight from the beginning. A really good advice I would say is, to get yourself a color checker. When you're working with multiple cameras, especially when they're not the same camera, you're gonna get a shift in white balance. Like for me, I use two A7 IVs as my left and a right camera. And then my main camera is an A7S III. So having a color checker just basically helps you keep everything cohesive. And it just makes all your future projects, kind of just stay consistent. So the first thing you're gonna want to do is when you have a color checker is kind of go over these boxes right here that kind of your shadows, your midtones and your highlights. And right after that, I like to put a Rec 709 conversion. Now that I have your Rec 709 conversion, basically what you want to do is go over here to this little toolbar, go to waveform and hide your vector scope. And basically what you're seeing here is kind of the same thing you're seeing right over here. You're seeing your shadows, you're seeing your midtones, and you're seeing your highlights. What I like to do is have my highlights around 90, have my shadows around 10, and have my midtones about 60. One thing to note is there's different ways to do this. You can do this in your basic color. You can do this in your curves. But what I like to do, I feel like it's simple for me. Just kind of do it here where your shadows, midtones, and highlights right in the color wheel tab. So like I said, I kind of like to keep my midtones around 60. I kind of put my highlights all the way at 90. And you're going to want to play around with this until you kind of get it right. It doesn't have to be right on it, but as long as you're close, then you should be pretty good. Now that you have it kind of where you want to have it, what you want to do is go back into your effects and basically grab on your mask and move it right over here where your colors are. So now that you have that, basically what you want to do is go to your hue versus saturation and your hue versus hue. And if you see these colors right over here are the same colors right over here. And basically what you're going to want to do is put little points on each color that corresponds with all of these. So your yellow with your yellow, your magenta with your magenta, and so on. And you want to do that for hue versus saturation and hue versus hue. So now that you have all your points, basically what you want to do is come over here to basic correction and put your saturation all the way up. The reason I say that is because if we go right over here to vector scope, you can see all these colors are and the lines are kind of goes just shifting up, and having it all the way saturated is going to help you align all these colors with its corresponding color. So that's basically what we're going to do right now. Using hue versus hue, just kind of going up or down, what you want to do is make sure the greens are kind of lining up with your green, your magentas are lining up with magentas, and basically have all colors doing the same thing. If you need a little bit more help, basically what you can do is go to hue versus saturation and just kind of lift that up, and you can see it's lining right on it. So now what you want to do is go back to basic correction and just double tap saturation to kind of restart it all, because we kind of want to do this manually. Basically what you want to do is have all these colors be halfway from its corresponding color, and we could do that by adjusting your hue versus your saturation. So I'll be kind of just messing around with a little bit. That's kind of halfway, that's kind of halfway, kind of just doing it with every single color. So that looks pretty good to me. And by doing that, you also kind of moved your skin tones. And if you can see right here, they all match this line. And this line right here is for your skin tones, from dark skin tones to light skin tones. And now basically what you're going to want to do is do the same thing to the other two cameras. So now that you did that to all three, basically what I'm going to do here is just copy and paste the same thing we just did to its corresponding camera. So the left camera with its left camera, the right camera with the right camera, and the middle camera with the middle camera. I kind of like to put an adjustment layer, put it right on top of all of it. So now what I like to kind of do is kind of color correct as color grade in a way. So basically what I'll do is add one of my favorite LUTs that I have, just to kind of give it a little bit of a vibe and make it look nice. So now that we have that, we kind of have like a little style right here. If you can kind of see, it's a little bit of warm. It looks really nice. So now step number 2 is sync. So what I'll basically do is I'll highlight all of this and nest it. And I'll name this one guest, and then I'll name this one middle camera, and then I'll name this one H for host. So basically now what you want to do is just kind of drag all of them up so they're in their own separate line, and then just put it all over each other. Then what you're going to want to do is highlight them all, right click it, go to synchronize, and you're going to have them all kind of just synchronized. Basically then now what you're going to want to do is zoom in and cut off these little extra bits. So now what we're going to want to do is basically nest them one more time. And I'll just, again, this one, host, I'll just do 2. And then this one, I'll do middle, 2. And then guest 2. So now what we're going to do is step number 3, which is multicam sequence. So basically what we're going to do is just highlight them all. We're going to right click them, but you want to make sure you do this in your project manager. And then you want to go to create multicam source. So basically what this is going to do is create a source right here. You'll double click it and you see this multicam sequence. But the way to actually use it is you're going to right click it, then go to new sequence from clip. So it's basically going to do a new sequence and it's going to use it by using this clip right here. So we'll just do that real quick. And now, as you can see, it's created into one clip. But the way we see the multicam is we go right over here to the little toolbar, click that and go to multi-camera. So now that we have that, you can see all 3 cameras at the same time while you're editing. And the cool thing about this is while you're actually editing, all of these have a corresponding number. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. And if you have a 4th camera, this is 4. And you can actually press, if you want to go to camera number 3, camera number 1, and then camera number 2. And the cool thing about that is when you pause it, you'll see the cuts that you did. So it's just a quicker way to edit. And this just kind of just helps you view each camera at the same time simultaneously. So basically now what you're going to want to do is edit the whole thing. But the thing about editing a podcast is you don't really want to add transitions or anything like that. You kind of just want to cut off the big mistakes that are happening. Like for some reason they had to restart, just cutting off the beginning part where everybody's just talking. The same thing at the end. You don't really have to do too much when it comes to podcasts. I would say keep it natural, keep it like if you were in the room with them. That's kind of the feeling that you kind of want to go for. Step number 4 is audio. So basically, this kind of plays in part with synchronize just a little bit. Now that we have our audio, we're going to just drag it up over here. We're going to highlight it and basically synchronize it one more time. Now that we got that synchronized, we're just going to want to cut the little nudges off. What we're going to want to do is click this little audio waveform and just go to dialogue. And basically here, it'll enhance the speech for you and you can choose the amount. And then the cool thing is there's actually a preset that you could do that's a podcast voice. This is very beginner friendly and it'll just help you edit it way quicker. So now that you got your color, you synchronize, you did your multicam, and you edited your audio, what you're going to want to do is export everything. So basically what you're going to want to do is press I for in and then O for out. You're going to want to go to export, name it however you want, put in whatever location you want. And what I like to do is there's actually a preset in Premiere Pro. If you go all the way down and you go to more presets, you can type in YouTube. And you want to use this because this preset by itself is just kind of optimized for YouTube on its own. The one thing that I do like to change is render at maximum depth and then just use maximum render quality. I wouldn't change anything else and then you're good at export. So now that you exported the video version, what we're going to want to do is do a similar thing, but for the audio version. All we're going to do is go back to export, do the same thing, your file and your location. But the different thing is we're going to go to format and actually look for waveform and we're going to export it. So now that we exported the audio, basically what we're going to want to do is optimize this for your audio-based platforms because they all require you to be a certain way. We're going to grab and drag that audio that we just did. So this is your whole podcast right here. We're going to want to click it. And what I'm using right here is Audacity. Audacity is a free tool and it lets you do this for free. So we're going to double tap it. We're going to go to effects, volume and compression. And then it reads audio differently as far as like Apple and everything. So it has to be at -16 loops. We're just going to let it do its thing and then we're going to be ready to export. So we're just going to go to file, export audio, export to computer, name it, folder wherever you want. But for this one, you're going to want to make sure it's on MP3, your channel on stereo, your sample rate will change it to this one, your bit rate to stay consistent, and your quality at 192. And then make sure it's at export the entire project. And now we'll go ahead and export and then you're all set. So those are all the easy, simple steps to editing a podcast from your video into audio. Hopefully you learned something. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at juan@soundspired.com and you have a good day.